Welcome back to the Pediatric Speech Sisters show. I am so excited to have our guest here, Akilah English. She goes by Akilah PhD on Instagram, and she's here to let us know about her PhD topic and how to best support Black deaf students in the K through 12 space. Thank you so much, Akilah, for joining us.
I'm so excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
And we do also have our fabulous interpreter here. So we do have Katie. I'm so excited for her to be here today as well. Katie, I'm not sure if you would like to introduce yourself to the audience.
Hello, everyone. My name is Katie. My sign name is Katie, and I'm excited to be here tonight. Um, and today I will be interpreting for Akilah. Oh, Akilah tonight.
Yes. And Katie did forget to mention that she is also a speech pathologist. So, yes. We're very excited to have her on the show today.
So, I'm a speech therapist. I work with deaf and hard of hearing students, kindergarten through eighth grade at a Deaf Institute. Um, I sign every day. I'm pretty fluent in ASL, and I'm excited to be here to help with the communication access for Akilah tonight.
Fabulous. Thank you, Katie. So, Akilah, I'm going to go ahead and read your bio. Please let me know if there's anything that I missed.
She said, "All right, okay."
Let's get it. Okay, so Akilah is a deaf and hard of hearing specialist for the District of Columbia Public Schools in Washington, D.C., with more than 15 years of experience. She earned her bachelor's degree in elementary education from Gallaudet University and a master's degree in deaf education from McDaniel College. Akilah is an active member of the National Black Deaf Advocates and a board member for Maryland School for the Deaf. She has a passion for education that is centered in social justice. Akilah is currently attending the University of Maryland College Park, where she is pursuing a PhD in teaching and learning, policy, and leadership, with a specialty in minority and urban education. So, Akilah, I brought you here on the show today, one, to commemorate Deaf and Hard of Hearing Awareness Month. We are at the very end of September. So, I'm so thankful to get you here on the 25th. And also, there's so much for us to learn about the intersectionality between being Black and deaf and hard of hearing, especially for the children who we serve and work with. So, I would love to get your perspective tonight.
She said, "Sure, I'm excited to be here to share my perspective." Sure.
Yes. So, Akilah, one question I always ask our guests: what is your why?
That's a good question. So what's my why? Why do I work in deaf ed? I think just to summarize some of my background, I was born hearing and I became deaf when I was around 2 years old. And my family's hearing. My mom signs, but my dad doesn't sign. He writes back and forth and kind of gestures. My brother does sign. He's mainstream. He grew up with an interpreter. She never had full exposure really to the deaf culture, especially for Black deaf identifying herself growing up where she lived. She was the only one. She felt all alone. She wanted to become a teacher, and she felt all alone.
Mm.
And then I arrived in high school. You had to decide to go to a hearing university, and she really wanted to go to a hearing university. Oh, but one teacher happened to be deaf working at her high school. And she said, "What's wrong with Gallaudet? What's wrong with Gallaudet?" Hmm. She said, "Don't you want to be a teacher for the deaf children? So who are you? Who are you as a person?" And at that moment, I realized, oh, she's right. I am struggling growing up and wanting to become a teacher for the deaf children, for children that look like me. And how do I navigate that? How do I navigate that world as a Black deaf person?
Mhm.
Now I'm in my 16th year as a teacher. And I'm never tired. I'm never exhausted. And my why is, what's my purpose? What's my legacy? How do I support those specific Black deaf children and make that space for them, for where Black children and Black students can thrive?
Mhm.
And how to become effective in that space. So that's my why. And have services support them.
That is so powerful, Akilah. I'm over here tearing up, just hearing your why statement. So thank you so much for being here, and thank you so much for fearlessly taking up space, really in this world, but especially on the online space. So one question I do have for you, Akilah, let's talk about your PhD topic. Can you just give us a little background about your topic and where you are now on that journey, what you're finding?
Yeah, sure. So I graduate with my master's in 2010. I graduated my master's in 2010s, and that wasn't enough school for me. So I really didn't have any plans going back to school. None, not at all. So I'm always struggling as a teacher, especially with my deaf children of color. I'm trying to have discussions with them, making sure they have fair equity and fair language, and they discuss the conflicts that they see, and maybe they're feeling things inside. Feeling things inside, mixed feelings inside. So that's why I wanted to go back to school. And I didn't know how to really navigate that and manage that with my students. I saw Black deaf students suffering. I saw Black deaf students and their families struggling. So I decided, let's go back to school. And honestly, one of the most liberating things that I ever experienced so far was being in a Black deaf space with deaf scholars, Black deaf scholars.
Mhm.
That inspired me to study more, and specifically Black deaf education with Black deaf children, and connect that experience with myself being Black. I'm focusing my experience of Black deaf children and how to respond to their Blackness.
Mhm.
Mm, okay. So in Deaf Ed, I really want to discuss how with Black deaf education, we never had a design for our Black deaf for our Black deaf bodies,
Yeah.
and how deaf education trying to encourage and not oppress our children of color and be encouraging their Blackness. And just really to summarize that and research how that can help me as an educator and make language and experiences for those children. And as a teacher, how to help them understand why I also struggle as a teacher myself. Help me to figure out how to better support my students, especially with the discrimination against Black deaf education.
Mm. Could you briefly? I have so many questions for you, Akilah, but I'm not going to keep you here all night. I promised you that. Could you tell us a little bit about the defining moment that it was for you to what sparked the idea for this topic? I know you told us the layout, but was there a specific story?
Mm, yeah, let me think. Oh, so I have a short story for you. So this student, mm, his parents had him very young when they were teenagers, and he was a Black boy. He was the only one. And before he arrived in my classroom, he was already struggling with all his other classes. But then he arrived in my classroom and we really connected. Oh, wow. He grew so much. He improved in his academics. And I felt like, wow, he's such a good student. I'm really proud of him. And then he moved to a different class. And then he was kicked out of that classroom from that school. He was expelled out of the school. Excuse me, interpreter clarification. He was expelled out of the school. And at that moment, I realized, something's not right. Mm-mm. I couldn't figure it out. Why at that time? So I was chatting with another Black person, another Black teacher, and he explained that it's because he's Black. And at that moment, I realized, I have to do something. And I feel like We're in a deaf school, and I felt like we were supposed to be a family, but it didn't even make any sense to me. So that's why I entered my PhD program at that moment when I realized, wow, all this time, because of their black skin and their skin color, there's discrimination against them. He didn't start to learn how to read. He didn't was able to catch up with his literacy skills, and how us as black deaf bodies never really have the opportunity to learn education. We never get included. And I just felt like, wow, let's name the problem. Let's name it. And that's how we can build a healthy community and we face it all together.
Thank you so much, Akilah. As you're speaking, a lot of my research and background work is on the school to prison pipeline and how Black children across the board are being kicked out from school, expelled for communication breakdowns, mismatches. And so, of course, it's heartbreaking to know that that's happening wherever you are. And just like what you said, you would think that being at a deaf and hard of hearing institution, it's a tighter community and there's a bit more understanding there. But I guess I'm wrong. So if you can define for us the people in the audience, thinking about the intersections of being Black and deaf or hard of hearing, I hear you saying a lot Black deaf bodies. What exactly does that look like? Can you define that struggle for us? And we do have people in the audience ready to fight with you, Akilah.
Let me think. So for me, black deaf bodies are beautiful. We're fully whole, we're honest, we're strong, we're healthy, rebellious, but we're not cherished inside. Being in black deaf spaces, we're not valued. And black deaf bodies are considered to be mean and looked down upon and ugly. And we have problems with us, with our body image. And that's how we wonder why people who are practicing, how those people are teaching, how they focus and fix things and fix the problems, but they're not uplifting and supporting and advocating for Black deaf individuals and how to focus on making so much of Black deaf students struggle with their identities because they don't have people to look upon their bodies and how they show up and how to provide a space that honors them and honors their bodies and how much they are valued. That's how we explain black deaf bodies because they're so precious.
They are. They are incredibly precious. So, Akilah, in your findings, how can we, deaf and hearing people, how can we advocate and support and uplift Black deaf bodies?
So you're going to have to excuse me now. So there are three things that come to mind, and it is the concept of home, home place, and that concept. Bell hooks.
I love bell hooks.
Yes, yes. So with that concept from bell hooks, they're talking specifically about noticing so much within the families and the struggling outside and how they manage that, especially with white supremacy in a white world and how we're suppressed as Black people. So feeling safe, feeling at home, feeling supported, that concept, involving it all its concepts, what that home place looks like for Black deaf students to thrive and make a space where they feel supported, a space where they feel they can connect. Oh, I'm here. This is my home. And that's why I feel like it's required to have representation and a curriculum as well that's representative. It should be required for teachers to practice and understand and connect. Don't disconnect from the world, from the system. No, it should be required and that we continue to self-analyze our biases and really kind of think about and reflect and make sure that there's a space, oh, that's perfect for Black deaf students. And there are so many, honestly, especially inside with the identity for being Black that they find later.
Mhm.
Oh, if they don't identify as being Black, they become like yesterday's adults. Mm-mm. And that can't happen. Hey, we want them to arrive and say, "Hey, I'm Black, and I'm proud." We want that. Yes. Okay. All right. I'm Black, and I love it. I love it. Yes. We want to really make sure that students are thriving and that they have a positive outlook of being Black and deaf with their deaf identity. And the third thing is making sure with that space that we resist oppression, how we can make stories that really represent us, honest stories, how that honors us and honors generations before us, how we can come with our whole self. That's important. Research for myself and research how we can drive that idea in perspective so that people understand what Black deaf students are going through.
Thank you so much for all of those tips, Akilah. The main question going through my mind is I'm thinking of a Black deaf person watching this, or even a Black hearing person watching or listening to this. And I want to know your journey on accepting your Blackness and who you are. What is some advice that you could give to them today?
Hmm. Um, I'm thinking, and for Black deaf people, I don't want you to ever lose your feeling of being embarrassed to be Black, be embarrassed of your Black identity. You're beautiful. And you really want to take charge of that. And that's some part of me that tells you, like, I'm liberated, I'm safe. It's the best feeling ever. I want to just collect it all and provide everyone this opportunity just to collect all of it, especially just make sure they're honored, they're loved, they're cherished. Don't ever, ever feel like you shouldn't be proud to be deaf and Black. And our history has told us that we don't belong, that we don't matter. History has told us that we don't belong anywhere. And that's wrong. And for Black hearing people, for a Black hearing person to access this world and access that information and the resources and share it with us, share the knowledge, share what makes you unique, and how we can all come together and be honest with each other. Because being Black is hard. And being a Black deaf person, they really struggle with access to the world. So much oppression. And as hearing people, how can they come with us to navigate that together?
Mhm. That's a very powerful question. So I'm so excited to see the future with you when we're walking with you in this fight. Yes, we are ready.
Yes.
Do you have any recommendations, documentaries, literature, anything that we can look at after this live, just so we can get geared up for this? Because we're right behind you, and we just want to be more culturally responsive for the deaf community.
Mm, look at my wall. There's 50 or 60 names all on my wall. That's all a part of my research as I'm looking up. Oh, let me see. I'm looking around my room. Oh, let's see. Let's see.
I know they're all necessary.
This book right here focuses on racism, positive deaf identities. This one here is on Black ASL. Let's see. I'm looking around my room. Oh, this is another one here about segregation. Mm, I have a few of my favorite articles. First name is Myer. He really focuses on Black deaf families and Black deaf families specifically on how they are struggling with supporting their Black deaf children. And how often Black families, they struggle with education growing up and they don't have a strong background and how that impacts their Black deaf children when they have reading development. That's a really good article. Oh, wow. I have so many, so many. Okay, give me 1, 2
Please.
years and let me fix my research. And then we can read all of them together because I really want to read all of them.
Yes, please, please, please. And please honestly share them on your Instagram. I'm not trying to give you more work to do, but any recommendations, please. We have a lot of book nerds in this audience who want to learn more, including myself.
She said, sure, yeah, no problem.
So, Akilah, one final question for you. Could you tell us what changes would you like to see in this world, in this society, in education specifically? I know we talked a lot about it today, but the main thing that comes to mind.
Hmm. Honestly, I really struggle with that question because a lot of people are against Blackness.
Mhm.
And they don't wanna make it interconnect and intertwine. And for change to happen, we really need that. 400 years of slavery and prejudice against Black people and racism. I honestly feel like for people to change, maybe it's not gonna happen in our lifetime,
Mm.
but you can leave a footprint. You can leave a footprint before you leave this earth, and what you can change with your own power. What can you do? How can you advocate for others? And it's so easy for us to just cover up and not celebrate the small things. So when you leave your footprint for someone in the future, leave something for them to celebrate, for them to cherish. And that's when change happens. And sometimes change, people think it's so big. No, mm-mm. You can change yourself as well, make an impact, even if it's small.
Well, I have chills right now. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Where can we find you? People who want to contact you and people who are ready to stand alongside you in this research, in this advocacy work.
You can find me on Instagram at Akilah, which is AKILAH-PhD. Or you can also find me on LinkedIn as well. Yeah, those are the two places. And the Instagram again is Akilah-PhD. Okay. Just clarifying if it was a dash or an underscore. It was underscore. Okay. Akilah_PhD on Instagram.
Okay, yes. And I did just put that in the chat. And just to talk about our cheerleaders in the audience today, we did have Alice and Jermaine from Definitely Communicating in here, and they're just like, absolutely, let's get to the work. So thank you again for putting flame in the speech therapist spirits today. Thank you, Akilah. Yes.
She said, yeah, no problem. It's my pleasure.
All right. Well, thank you all so very much for coming. Please join us next week. We'll be talking to Karina. We're going to be talking about what it's like to be Black in the PhD space. Thank you, everybody, for coming. Thank you, Akilah. Thank you, Katie. Y'all have a great night. Bye, fam.